Here we are with Peter J. Lyons.
That's it.
And it's peterjlyons.com. And Pete, you were just telling me that you normally work in a studio. You're a famous painter. Your paintings command.
Well, I don't know about famous. But
well,
I'm working on it.
Your work commands a very a premium price, and it's because of the notoriety and the detail and the incredible work that you do. Why, now you work in a studio like you were saying, why did you come out to Gloucester? Because where do you normally reside?
Well, I just got married. I live in Natick now, and but I work in a studio, as I have done for many decades. But there is something, I've just got over an illness, and something about plein air painting has an energy and a vitality that you can carry back with you into a studio. There's something about visceral experience of being on the spot that you can bring with you, and it's good to bring back into the studio. And so we did that. It wasn't so much about the painting as about picking up that energy. And that's what I'm working on at the moment. I've got a big picture I'm halfway through, and this will be very good for it.
So this is the first time you kind of been getting out for a while, and why did you pick Gloucester?
Well, our friend Alison is from Gloucester. She lives here, and it's very beautiful. She's wanted us to come up for some time, and which we have done in the past, obviously, but it was specifically with the idea of doing a couple of little paintings this weekend. I was speaking with your wife, Paulina, and she was talking about the light and the type of painting that you work on. Can you explain? I don't want to butcher what it's called, but that's all right. I'm a luminist, and American luminism is something that was happening in the early to the mid part of the 19th century, right here in Boston and along the New England coast. And all these people, these writers and so on, were, you know, Fitzhugh Lane was, Henry Lane as it is now we know, was one of the painters that was part of that movement. And these works are transcendental, and it's not so much the scene, which of course the motif is obviously the physicality, the physical part of the artifact, but you're taken through that to some other higher dimension, more closely related to the spiritual part of your nature, and that's what those works did. And that is happening right here. It was happening here, and it fell out of favour, you know, certainly by 1900 it was even passé. But, and then certainly with the Armory Show in 1913 in New York, Boston up to that time had been the leading centre of art in the United States. Then it moved down to New York, and a different thing had started there. But I was always moved. I'm a New Zealander by birth, and there is something very similar to the culture, and certainly geophysically, from where I am in the South Island to America, the light, the forms, and I just naturally painted in that, in a way which was very empathetic to this American experience. Then as I got older into my teens, and you start to want to formalize these more ethereal ideas, and started to learn, I found out about the American luminists and immediately recognized that's what I've been trying to articulate, and so I came to America to be closer to that, and I've moved, of course, naturally with my own voice, but I found a kinship here, and was recognized for that when Professor Stebbins from the MFA saw my work and then helped me, and I got a gallery in New York and so on. But it's a new kind of luminism that I do, and today has got nothing to do with that. It's just about being outside and working on something in front of me, feeling something to do with the wind in your face and the bugs in your teeth, which is a very important part of life, and I want to bring that back into my studio.
Well, thank you so much for that. We can find your work at peterjlyons.com.
Yeah, I'm working on getting that website up. If you go to US artists, there's one of my pictures. I was blessed. They choose the artists they want on there, and I was chosen to have one of my images there. So you can see something about that right now. And it's just wonderful being here in America painting. God bless it. It's been great.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you. Particularly here in Gloucester, as a New Zealander from the South Island on the southern latitude of 43 to 45 south, is exactly where we are in the opposite here in New England. On Gloucester is on 43 north. And geophysically and culturally they're very similar to my experience in the South Island of New Zealand. Is just like here in Gloucester. The light and the feel is so similar. It's something I recognise. And also here in this small town, it's something like New Zealand. Often American tourists I've met who are very abundant in New Zealand have said, especially the older ones, it reminds me of America 50 years ago. And I can still feel that here in a small town like in Gloucester. It's got that feel of New Zealand, and I suddenly understand what all those older Americans would talk to me about when I still lived in New Zealand. There's a great similarity and an earthiness in the place and in the people. And there's that kind of honesty which really penetrates an artist, because that's what art finally is about. It's talking about, whether it's in literature or in dance or in paint, and honesty. There's no room for anything else, and it's that truth that we touch and recognise. And that's something which is here in New England, particularly in Gloucester. It's a very beautiful experience.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate it.